big supporter of the Seven Canyons Trust because a water museum is opening in Perth, Australia tomorrow morning. This is part of a program of honoring the leadership that has been coming from this city in managing our water in this oasis of our desert. The vision that Brian and my former students have been trying to bring to this project really originated in that room with Kyle Amalfa when he was a city council member, when he invited us to come down and share this vision for restoring the Seven Canyon Creeks. And tonight, as we're edging closer and closer to doing that, I just want to thank the council for your support, making sure that tonight's decision, if you do make a decision, aligns our investments. The $1.2 million that Brian mentioned is a significant investment, not only in environmental justice for how these rivers move down the Bonneville Basin to become a river and then into a Dead Sea, but also the social justice component of this. The Glendale community could use more green space, more restoration of the gorgeous waters that are a part of this, this desert, and I thank you for your hopeful support.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Goldsmith. My final card this evening is Soren Simonson.
Council members, thank you for the opportunity to share my excitement about this project with you. As some of you know, I was on the council a few years ago when we adopted the riparian overlay ordinance for the creeks and tributaries in the Jordan River that flow through Salt Lake City, and that was a watershed moment, pun intended. And this is another watershed moment to consider that after a century of putting our creeks and tributaries underground, that we're now beginning the process of bringing them back to the surface. And even though this is a small stretch that will be impacted with this project that you're considering, it's a really important one that begins that transformational process. And I believe will set the stage for communities up and down the entire Jordan River watershed area. I'm here as a representative of the Jordan River Commission, as its executive director. I can't make an official position statement on this, on the options that are before you, but I can say that the Commission has for many years supported the development of this specific project and projects like this generally. And I encourage you to see this vision through to its fullest extent. And as a person who's a constituent of Salt Lake City, I believe that the option C, which fully realizes the vision that's been contemplated through a grassroots effort going on now for many years, is the right decision, and I urge you to move in that direction. Thank you for your consideration. Good luck with this really important project.
Thank you, Soren. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this matter? Okay, I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the council continue the public hearing to a future council meeting.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Johnston and seconded by Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion on this?
I'd like, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
In our previous work session, we did have a straw poll that endorsed option C, which was the original plans for the park. We haven't quite yet received the administrative transmittal about that. Therefore, we need to continue the public hearing and address it in the future council meeting. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to item B2, which is a resolution about an informal public benefit analysis on eliminating fees at level 2 electric vehicle charging port stations. I have no cards for this. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to this matter?
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Mendenhall.
I move that we close this public hearing, suspend the rules, and adopt this resolution.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Councilmember Mendenhall to close this public hearing, suspend the rules, and adopt. Second by Councilmember Fowler. Any discussion on this item?
Yeah, I just want to know the haste in suspending the rules.
This is not a rush process, and we don't have any public comment here tonight. I don't see the need to wait on this one. It's an exciting opportunity for the city to put some more incentives behind transitioning to a cleaner energy alternative and less polluting option for our city.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That one carries. Our next public hearing this evening is item B3, which is a resolution as well to provide below-market financing to Violent Commons LLC, which intends to purchase the Northwest Pipeline Building, also the former Public Safety Building, located at 315 East, 200 South. All right, this evening I have one comment for Calvin Foers. Good evening, Calvin.
Good evening, members of the council. As you may be aware, I'm a representative for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I represent carpenters in several different aspects of construction. And with regards to this loan to the developer for the Northwest Pipeline Building, I would just implore that you continue your efforts to increase the oversight of contractors selected for these projects in the carpentry field. These projects, while good for the community as a whole, have a potential to perpetuate the nationwide problem of a cash pay industry. As I'm sure several of you are aware, and some of you new folks, this is a big problem, and you will see us here quite frequently speaking on this matter. Be the leader in creating a change in the construction industry by ensuring responsible contractors perform the work. The below-market financing is in essence giving money by not realizing the market value interest return. It's city money. Be sure it's used responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin, for your comments and your advocacy on this. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this matter? All those in favor, or excuse me, I'll look for a motion.
I'll move the council close this public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Mendenhall and seconded by Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, may I? To address the concerns that were just brought up, we're working on it.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We are at item B4, a public hearing regarding an ordinance amending Salt Lake City Code relating to weeds and the clearing of real property, amending Chapter 9.16, Article 1, renumbering Section 9.16.110 and Section 9.16.120, and repealing Chapter 9.16, Article 2, and Chapter 21A.20, Enforcement. All right, I have no cards. Anybody would like to speak to this item, please raise your hand. Amir? Okay, go ahead and approach the dais. And we'll get you to fill out a comment card afterward, please. Would you mind saying your name into the microphone, please?
Why?
For the record, so we know who's speaking to us.
John Doe.
Thank you very much.
I had a question. There's some crazy stuff going on. You all go out there and spread your progressive ideals, and you know you need to slow the flow, save H2O. But then if you do that, then you get like a brown lawn, and then some kind of one of your brown shirts comes around and hands out tickets. Could you please iterate on how to do both of those things, slow the flow but not get a ticket? You're the guy in charge. You can respond, can't you?
You have the floor, my friend.
And I ask you a question. Fun games at City Hall. People don't even know the rules they govern over, so they have no comment.
Thank you very much. Amir, would you like to speak to this item?
Good evening, Council. And one of the reasons I'm against that ordinance is you need to worry about elderly people in my neighborhood up in the avenue. They didn't say all the information when they represent you. Imagine an elderly woman or man gets sick and cannot mow his lawn. These folks, they charge you $300 to mowing the lawn, and $75 a day because they cannot find the owner. Where is the owner? He's at the hospital. And putting lien in somebody's property, that's not right. You are the only city in Salt Lake County going and put a lien on the property. Number one, I would like you appoint someone before they put a lien on the property, like city attorney, to say, yes, you could do so. Not some guy can write and put a lien on your property. This is an objective I have. Send it back to him and said, I want you to give me the fees. And that is not good. $125 a day is a chunk of money for some old lady or old gentleman retire when he lives on the food stamps. I would like you appoint city attorney to make a decision to put a lien on these property. They did it to me 3 years ago. We were just about to go to Third District Court, and
Time.
it got stopped. Now, can I go for this, my second on my yellow card, or do you want me to go sit in the back?
We're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Amir. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this item? In that case, I'll look for a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, it looks like the public notice for this wasn't posted in time for February 6th, so I would move that the comments which were heard tonight be included with the public record for the February 20th public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Rogers and seconded by Councilmember Mendenhall. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries. Our fifth public hearing this evening is an ordinance amending the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2017-2018. I don't have any cards for this item. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this? All right, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the council adopt an ordinance amending Salt Lake City Ordinance Number 28 of 2017, which adopted the final budget of Salt Lake City, Utah for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017 and ending June 30, 2018, as forwarded by the administration, with the addition of $20,000 to facilitate the city's partnership with Local First.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Mendenhall and seconded by Councilmember Wharton. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Our last public hearing this evening includes items B6 through B8 regarding 3 grant applications. Green Bike Program Expansion Grant, East-West Pedestrian and Bicycle Connection Study, and Salt Lake City Fire Department 2019 Per Capita Allocation Grant. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to this item? Mr. Iltis, please approach the dais. If you could state your name and then fill out a card afterward, please.
My name's Dave Iltis. I'm with Cycling Utah. Wanted to speak in favor of items 6 and 7. I'm not against 8, but just want to speak in favor of 6 and 7. The Green Bike expansion to Liberty Park and Sugar House is something that we made comments on in the Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan and other opportunities through the year. Liberty Park would be an incredible addition because it would get more people active in Liberty Park. It would allow people to use that in a recreational fashion to travel around Liberty Park. Additionally, with Green Bike is wonderful downtown but doesn't serve the rest of the community yet. And the sort of the spider model that Madison, Wisconsin has, which sort of extends far out through the city, allows one to truly get rid of their car and travel in a much greater geographic range. Regarding the East-West Pedestrian Bicycle Connection Study, this is sorely needed as well. For example, 6 North is an absolute disaster. UDOT is their treatment of the 6 North Bridge is abominable, and the council people in the both west and east of that should be pressing UDOT to do something about this, and hopefully this study will allow for better connections over the bridges over I-15 and to connect the east side to the wonderful bicycling on the west side. Anyway, both of these items, I hope you approve those, and I'm glad to see they're on there. Additionally, on the green bike, you may or may not know that Mayor McAdams from Salt Lake County announced a $2 million expansion to that recently. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Iltis. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak to this item, these items? All right, I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearings and refer items B6 through B8 to a future meeting for action.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Johnston and a second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. We have no potential action items under Section C, so we are on to the comment section of our agenda. Are there any comments from council members to our mayor and her staff this evening? I would just like to say thank you to you and all the department heads that we've been deeply engaged with the last few weeks. It's been a nice start to 2018, so I appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you. We reciprocate.
Okay. Moving on. We are now at item D2. We will be taking general comments tonight, and I will call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. It's the yellow cards here. Just like with the public hearings, I will call 2 at a time, and you each have 2 minutes to offer your comments. I know that's not enough time, so please feel free to reach out to your council members individually, and we can set up time to discuss your matters individually. Up first, we have Douglas Cotant, followed by Amir Cornell.
For those of you who are new, my name is Douglas Hokank, and I've been coming to city council meetings for about the last 20 to 25 years. First of all, where is our mayor?
It's been a long day, Douglas.
And secondly, I noticed when I was coming into the building to go to city council meeting, or come to city council meeting, noticed that the back door was locked, the back door facing the library. And I knocked a couple of times, and a CBI officer let me in, and I asked him why the back door was locked, and I'm not sure what his answer was, but I really would appreciate it if the next time I come to city council meeting, either that back door remains open or direct me to another door so I can come in to come to city council meeting. And I sure would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cotant. Up next, I have Amir Cornell, followed by Calvin Fors.
First of all, I apologize. I pointed at you with my finger. It is just a Middle Eastern, slang we use when we use our fingers. Number two, we have 40 days to 45 days to bring an ADU to this floor. People are waiting. I live on the border of the 2700 South and Mill Creek City. I am 1.5 blocks from Mill Creek City. If ADU doesn't want to pass and you folks delay it, my neighbor, we are going for annexation. And the mayor of the Mill Creek support us. We're going to get separated from Salt Lake City, from south of 2700 and up. We would like you bring it to the floor at least by March 15. We would like somebody in your group pick up the phone and call to the rest of the cities in Salt Lake County how they handle ADU. That's all I have. Please consider us. Thank you.
Mr. Cornell. Sam, will you raise your hand? Will you speak with Sam Amir and explain your timeline of March 15th to him so that he can communicate to the rest of the council?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, up next I have Calvin Forrest, followed by Cristobal Villegas. Did I say that right? Close enough. All right, Calvin, you're up.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak twice. This is basically rehashing the same thing, but more on a general note. A community is defined as a unified body of individuals with a common social, economic, and political interests, a group linked by a common policy. The city has made great efforts in providing a great community to people and welcoming people from all walks of life, especially with your efforts towards the affordable and transitional housing. But I've noticed that there has been some discussion and some issues involving budget shortfalls and how we're going to get the money. I mean, it costs money to run a city like this, especially with if I may just reference the lights that are needed at Smith's Ballpark. It's a great place. I love taking my family there myself. And, you might need to just change the light bulbs, so to speak. That's understandable. But a lot of this money can be found by ensuring those payroll taxes on these construction jobs are collected for the city. That's a lot of money that's literally just going right out the window. I know I've spoke about this before, and I know you're all aware, but I'm going to just keep coming in here cordially and just asking you to please continue your efforts. I do appreciate the efforts that have been made thus far, but there's still a long way to go, and this city could be a leader, not only for the state of Utah, but for the country as a whole. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Forrest. You're up. Would you state your name into the mic so we can make sure I have our pronunciation correct?
Yes. My name is Cristobal Villegas.
Villegas.
All right. So first I want to say thank you to all the council members here. Thank you so much for hosting these. But first I want to also express my disappointment regarding the 40 police officers that were then hired by the city. Although I do, I understand that we are about 46th, 47th in regards to police officers per capita in the nation. I think it's also now it could be an opportunity to follow up on those 40 police officers from now on and see how they progress within our community, where they are, where they're patrolling, and how they handle different circumstances. So I would request that from the council to see as an opportunity to study, and hopefully our police officers are different from other police officers in the nation. And second, I had the opportunity to watch the meeting regarding the Northwestern Quadrant. Regarding Steve and what he was saying regarding the jobs in the future being Amazon fulfillment centers, I do hope that if we are tooting that we first then go work there. Because if those are the jobs of the future, then we all better be there first and experience that before we send the West Side and those who are struggling for money to go work those jobs. I quickly read an article. Salt Lake City, as we know, is segregated both on poverty level and racial status and ethnic status. And Salt Lake City is blessed that we have, I guess, some substantial part of a poverty level on the east side of the I-15. But it's still our responsibility to make sure that the jobs over there benefit all, that the pollution over there doesn't, again, harm those on the west side, especially Kearns, as we do know. They have some of the highest levels of pollution in the air and also have the longest commuting times in the Salt Lake County. And so as just a community member, I would implore you all to make sure that y'all look at your consequences. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments tonight. Up next, we have James Berman.
Greetings, commissars. There's an old theory or practice, if you will. It's called for us, by us, with us. Yet you deprive your constituents a chance to pass motions here. You deprive them of their constitutional rights. I just don't see how this is, here's liberty, the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. That was on the interweb, and yet, you know, you guys want to raise taxes. The federal government says tax cut, so you guys figure a way that you can like gouge the public for more money. So it's like, okay, now's the time to join in. They got a couple extra dollars, let's raise taxes. What happened to prosperity in this fine city that we do so reside in? You guys want more money, you know. The mayor, who's too busy to be here, she needs 2 bodyguards and a chauffeur. What kind of leadership is that for the city if you can't even walk in your own community without being scared? You need 2 bodyguards, $168,000 for 1 bodyguard. This is crazy. Who knows how much the chauffeur costs? But this is like money that really doesn't need to be spent. If she can't find a way around the city, then why the hell is she governor here or the mayor here? That makes no sense. You think you at least be able to figure out where you're going and what you do. I mean, she don't even come to the meetings. She has her little yes boys here. And what is her job definition? Can anyone answer me that? Besides gouging us and taking prosperity out of our pockets. I know you guys are all little tyrants in your own fiefdoms, but I mean, seriously, what happened to liberty of a democratic republic? You know, that I looked at that up on the interweb too, and it says it's run by the people and you guys. But you guys have all the power. So that sounds like tyranny to me. I don't understand this. I mean, I know some of your progressive views and thoughts. That's good for y'all. Go down to Venezuela.
Time.
Go to China.
Thank you, Mr.
You guys will
Berenson.
fit right in right down there.
Thank you for your comments to the council tonight. If you'd like to speak to us further, you can come next week or speak to your council member directly.
Well,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Goldman
much.
Sachs ain't here, so how can I speak to him directly?
Thank you for your time tonight. We're
If
around
you
after
ain't gonna direct me to one of your little minions that maybe they can answer my questions?
If you'd like to speak to a staff member, they're available, absolutely. Thank you for your
Which
time.
one is it? Oh,
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the city council this evening? Mr. Iltis, please join us at the dais, the mic.
Hi, my name's Dave Eltis. I wanted to make some comments really briefly on several different items. The first one is regarding Salt Lake City's conversion to LED streetlights. Still, there is no meaningful action whatsoever from public utilities. It's been over a year since I first raised this, and Salt Lake's dark skies and health of the community are going downhill with no meaningful action from public utilities. Second is regarding Operation Rio Grande. This is anecdotal, but I have a friend who has substance abuse problems and has been arrested multiple times and essentially has received almost no treatment, and so he keeps reoffending as a result. And I have seen his arrest report that says Operation Rio Grande, so there are lots of people falling through the cracks on that. Third thing is that in regards to the weed control ordinance, Cycling Utah worked a couple years ago to get goat heads declared a statewide noxious weed. Those are puncture vine. They are also a county noxious weed, and they don't fit well with the definitions of the weeds in some of the language in the ordinance. They're extremely detrimental to bicycling. They're low-lying. You can't just spray them. You can't mulch them. I'm sure there are good techniques for removing them. However, this needs to be maybe explicitly put in the ordinance rather than implicitly, because I've seen this with, for example, properties on 3rd South where they're just sprayed, but then the seeds are still very harmful for everybody in that. So I'd ask you to study that a little bit more to make sure that you pay attention to that in that ordinance.
Thank you for your comments tonight, David.
Thanks.
Anybody else like to speak to the council this evening? Yes, sir. Please approach the mic and state your name for us.
Hello, Council. I got here late. I'm actually on property on a.
Can you please
south-
can you say your name in the mic
My-
and hold it really close to you, please? Thank you.
My name is Vu Cao. I own a property on the south side of 13 South and 900 West. I own a little auto shop there, and I went to a couple meetings here with the council, and the city want to buy my property out to expand the. You probably know, but you know, I got an offer from the city about my property, but I've been looking to relocate my business, but the offer was so low. With the money that the city offered, I could not get any other little auto shop, you know, closer to my side that can fit that money. And if I decide to stay, I should ask the city that please help me with my access. If they close the road, that's fine, but give me a couple feet so I can have access into my business. That's all I'm asking. Because when they close it, and there's a post, there's a power post that on the way, and the city did ask Rocky Mountain to come over and try to remove that power pole, but it's cost a lot of money. So they decide to leave it stay, but leave that stay, and without taking all the spaces, then I have no access into my business. And with that closure and without leaving me a couple feet, I'll be in trouble with the access into the business. Yeah, and I've been there since 2002, and I'm doing well. I pay taxes every quarterly, and
Time?
I got six employees, and now, you know, I just don't know what to do. Yeah, so I need your help.
Thank you for your comments to the city council this evening. We have administrative staff here that you can speak to, as well as city council staff members, and council members will be around after the meeting this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the city council tonight during open comment period? Okay. Moving on, we are now on to item E, new business. We have no new business this evening, so we are at section F, unfinished business. Item F1 is a resolution which would adjust the boundary of the mosquito abatement district to include more of Salt Lake City. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council will confirm approval of a resolution which would adjust the boundary of the mosquito abatement district to include more of Salt Lake City.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rogers and a second by Councilmember Fowler. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That motion carries. We are now at the consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we pass the consent agenda with the exception of item G11 regarding Holly Nichols to the Sugar House Park Authority Board. She will be rescheduled to a future meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And that is the end of our council meeting this evening. Thank you for joining the City Council. We will see you next week.